Alright, Rich Van Tassel back with you, finishing up our game picks for Week 10 of the NFL season, and of course, recording audio for WBJL Radio and Yes You. Our next game up, the Miami Dolphins at 4-4, but 0-3 on the road, travel to San Diego to play the Chargers, who are 4-5, 3-1 at home. Injuries for the visiting Miami Dolphins: 4 questionables. Deion Sims, tight end; Kenny Stills, wide receiver; Jarvis Landry, wide receiver; Marquise Gray, tight end. Xavier Howard, a cornerback, is out. For the Chargers, Tyrell Williams, wide receiver; Hunter Henry, tight end, are questionable. Jatavis Brown, Denzel Perryman, both linebackers, and Jeremy Butler, the wide receiver, are all out. Two teams that are a little surprising in this regard. I had them both in last place. They are currently both in last place. Well, Miami is not, San Diego is, but certainly I didn't expect San Diego to win more than 4 games this year, and they already have 4 wins. Miami has quietly come along after a slow start. They have not won a road game, though, but at 4-4, as we said earlier in the earlier videos, that no wild card spot is really out of reach for teams, especially around the 500 mark in either conference. Now, Ryan Tannehill, only 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. You're looking at some potential injuries to the wide receivers, but they are questionable, so I'd expect them to go. Jarvis Landry quietly putting together a pretty good year. Just under 50 receptions and over 600 yards. Through 8 games, that's well over 1,000 yards and just shy of 100 receptions, but only has 1 touchdown. Should be a lot of offense in this game. Phillip Rivers is throwing the ball a lot, as we'd expect, but Melvin Gordon quietly has come along in the running game for the San Diego Chargers. Rivers well over 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's a good year. It's not in the caliber of what a Drew Brees and Matt Ryan are on pace for, but certainly quality in that regard, and especially the yardage could go over 5,000 yards. Can Miami finally win a road game? San Diego is a weaker team. If Miami wants to prove they're for real and they're turning things around, I'd expect that they'd go on the road and get the victory over an improved San Diego Chargers team, but a team that I don't think is quite there yet. I think Miami is going to do it. High-scoring game. I like 31-27. Ryan Tannehill has to eliminate the turnovers, and we'll see if Jay Ajayi, that is, can get the running game going. He had those 200-yard games and then was held in check last week, so that's something to look out for. But I think Miami gets the win over a San Diego Chargers team, and look for San Diego to start to taper off now in the second half of the season. Of course, they've played 9 games. They have yet to have their bye week. Next, the Dallas Cowboys at 7-1. They're 4-0 on the road, travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers, who are 4-4, 3-1 at home. The Steelers are on 3 straight losses. For the Cowboys, 4 questionables. DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end; Ryan Davis, defensive end; Tyron Smith, offensive tackle; Ronald Leary, the guard. Chaz Green, the backup offensive tackle, is out, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. If Smith can't go, they're really going to be stretched thin at tackle, and even if Tyron Smith plays and something happens, they're going to be stretched thin. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, all listed as out: D'Angelo Williams, running back; Marcus Wheaton, wide receiver; Jordan Dangerfield, safety; Darius Hayward-Bay, wide receiver. So, what I thought Pittsburgh would have the matchup in this game is their passing game. Certainly Antonio Brown will still be on the field, but you're without Marcus Wheaton and Darius Hayward-Bay. Darius Hayward-Bay, not necessarily a consistent guy, but can still stretch a defense. Marcus Wheaton is a big physical wide receiver. Now you look at it, Dallas, Morris Claiborne is probably not going to go, and Barry Church is probably not going to go again. So you'll have to keep an eye on that and how they're going to cover Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's still putting together a good season, over 50 receptions, over 650 yards, and 6 touchdowns, but a little off the pace he set last year. But when you set such a high standard for yourself, you can't always live up to that, and you still put up good numbers. How is Pittsburgh going to fare against the Dallas running game? That's certainly something to keep an eye on. Pittsburgh is generally good against the run. It hasn't been great this year, and that Pittsburgh hasn't run the ball that well either. So there are a lot of interesting matchups in this game to look forward to. Cowboys have won 7 straight. Pittsburgh has lost 3 straight. It makes me very reluctant to go with the Dallas Cowboys because of that situation. Being a Cowboy fan, I've gone against them a lot, and I'm not going to do that in this one. I am going to pick the Cowboys to get another road win. It's going to be difficult. They'll figure out what they're going to do with Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh's not able to run the ball. I think Dallas gets a couple key plays, like either a punt or a kick return touchdown, an interception, possibly return for a touchdown. They get a turnover. They do what they need to do. I think Dak Prescott will be under pressure, and Pittsburgh will blitz him and show him something he hasn't seen necessarily. But remember, he did get the blitz against the Philadelphia Eagles, so I expect him to be able to pick that up and be able to recognize it and turn things around early and not have to come back on a Pittsburgh Steelers team that would likely not blow a lead like the Philadelphia Eagles would. I like the Cowboys 28-24 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. San Francisco at 1-7, 0-3 on the road, losers of 7 straight, traveling to Arizona to play the Cardinals, who are 3-4-1, 2-2-1 at home. Injuries for the 49ers. Arik Armstead, defensive lineman, is on injury reserve. He's out, as well as Aaron Lynch, a linebacker. The rest are questionables. Carlos Hyde, running back. Torrey Smith, wide receiver. Rashard Robertson, cornerback. For the Cardinals, Tyrann Mathieu, safety. Thurl Simon, cornerback, are out. Alex Okafor, the linebacker, is questionable. You have some secondary injuries, but San Francisco is not a team that is throwing the ball particularly well this year. Though when they do throw the ball, when they do decide to balance their offense and throw when they should be throwing and run when they should be running, they have shown a propensity to put up some yards. So that could be something that Arizona will struggle with. Arizona is looking up at the Seattle Seahawks. They need to win a division game. They need to just win any game. But a weak 49ers team, losers of 7 straight, coming into their building, Arizona will really be kicking themselves if they don't win this game. San Francisco, whenever a team loses 7 straight, it doesn't have to be the 49ers. You know they're going to come out and looking for anything. It's not, that late in the season where you would just be like, okay, we're done with the year. We don't want to move on. I'm not saying San Francisco is going to make the playoffs. It would be highly unlikely, and it's almost impossible. I'm saying with 8 games left, you try to build something into next year, and you're certainly not going to fold up the tent yet. Arizona needs to win it. They will win this game, though, for whatever reason, Arizona has not shown me much, and I could see San Francisco winning a division game. But I like the score 30-20. Arizona gets the win, but don't be surprised if San Francisco upsets what's been a disappointing Cardinals team this year. 30-20 Cardinals, however. And then our last game, the Seattle Seahawks 5-2-1, 1-2-1 on the road. Travel to New England to play the Patriots, who are 7-1, 3-1 at home. This is, of course, the Sunday night game. Injuries for the visiting Seahawks. Thomas Rawls, running back, is out. The rest are questionables. DeAndre Elliott, cornerback. Bradley Soule, offensive tackle. Luke Wilson, tight end. Christian Michael, the running back. So you have some serious questions with the running game with Thomas Rawls being out and potentially Christian Michael not being able to play. For the Patriots, Alan Branch, defensive lineman, questionable. Chris Hogan, wide receiver. Julian Edelman, wide receiver. Martellus Bennett are also all questionables. Dion Lewis, the running back, is out. Of course, this is a Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago, and the same thing we discussed when we talked about that Super Bowl. Seattle's strength is obviously their secondary. They have guys like Cam Chancellor who can lock up a Rob Gronkowski. That's something to look at. However, in the slot is not where Seattle is necessarily the strongest. They're good with, Richard Sherman on the outside covering wide receivers who can get downfield. As far as guys in the slot, that's one thing to look out for, the Julian Edelmans of the world and the Danny Amendolas. Julian Edelman, questionable. Dion Lewis, who is out, is a guy who can kill you in the slot as well, out of the backfield, so that's something to look at as well. New England is rolling. Seattle going to have a tough time going on the road to get this one. They are a professional team. Look for them to be game, but New England in the end comes away with the victory, 31-28 in what will be a tight game. All right, so also remember for all those listening on WBJL Radio and Yes you can check everything out that I do on my YouTube channel, the Rich Van Tassel channel, and we will see you tomorrow to give you a recap of all the games. Be sure to stay tuned for that and enjoy tomorrow, what is now Week 10 of the NFL season. And, of course, we have the weekly NBA report as well coming up for that, and the Celtics report as well, whether I'll do it tomorrow or Monday. The Celtics is a little different because, just however their schedule lands. So be sure to stay tuned for those as well. And, of course, as we said, the game recaps. We will see you next time and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all so much.